Hi everyone, Scrappy Kathy here with another layout share. This time I'm sharing with you layouts done for the Mind the Scrap CyberCrop that was held this past weekend. And it started on Friday, ended on Sunday. I had two left to do on Monday. So I'm going to kind of go in reverse order. You may have seen some of these on Instagram or Facebook. I've put them in a couple places. I'm not going to tell you what the challenges are because the challenges are actually proprietary. And the idea is that if you'd like to produce a whole mound of beautiful layouts and have some interesting, fun challenges. Mind the Scrap's a great group to get associated with, and you can sign up for their next CyberCrop that I think is going to be in July. So I'm going to quickly go through these and tell you a little bit about how I made them. Not going to give you too much of a clue about the challenge that was posted, although in some cases that might be relevant. These two were the last two that I produced, and I did those on Tuesday. And the reason I say that is that my intent in both of these was to use up scraps. My additional challenge to myself on this weekend was to use my April Mind the Scrap kit first. Those are my first go-to supplies. If I needed something else, I'd go back to previous kits. And the idea was to kill the April kit and come as close as I could to killing previous kits. By previous kits, I mean not only leftovers from kits, but also grab bags and extra paper packs that I have purchased from the Mind the Scrap store. So I had those kind of on my desk. Didn't allow myself to go too much into my stash except for things like enamel dots and sequins or alphas if I needed them. So this one is a layout about that features a picture of my grandson showing that he used to actually be able to smile. And he was 3 at the time, and it says, "Dream big, little boy." And he has truly dreamed big, and he's headed all over the place. This one I don't want to say a whole lot about. It was the challenge kind of inspired me to think about this particular event, which was when I was on a business trip in Singapore. I had a weekend off, so I went on a tour, had a wonderful time, did a night tour of the zoo, which is something I'd highly recommend if you ever go to Singapore, and ended up having some heart palpitations, scary thing. So I woke up my husband, who was back home where we were living at the time in Brussels, and said, "Gosh, do you think I ought to call a doctor?" And he said, "Yes." Hang up the phone and call the doctor. So I did call the hotel doctor. He ended up getting me to Mount Elizabeth, and this wonderful doctor diagnosed my atrial fibrillation, and it kind of set me on a path to where I am now with and I'm kind of used to it now. Lots of emergency room visits and a pulmonary vein ablation later. I'm in good control. But this was kind of the start of a chapter in my life that, not the kind of thing I would normally scrap. This one, I love the navy blue background, and I like the drawn frame. I'm getting down to scraps here on these papers, and I wanted to include them, so I just cut squares and added some. I figured any color was fine because the fish in the photo were all colors. This was Ava's first birthday, and we took her to the Georgia Aquarium here in Atlanta, and that was a really fun day. This was a a challenge about roommates, and these four are our roommates. Actually, I guess we're theirs. We live in the basement of their home, and it's probably one of the better family photos that that they've ever taken. I used a ton of washi tape. I just kind of grabbed washi tape without regard to what kind it was, and so this washi tape one will get entered in the For the Love of Pretty Paper and Crafting Out Loud challenge with that product focus. This one is one about my visit with my best friend Robbie. We've been best friends since elementary school, and through college, and she lives in Colorado and I live in Georgia, so we don't see each other often, but when we do, such as last July at the Scrap Happy family reunion in Denver, it's as if we kind of pick up where we left off. It's as if we've never been apart. This was a kind of reflective, minimalist page called Irreplaceable. The only thing kind of noteworthy here, technique-wise, is I actually created in my word processing system, I created a mask, a circle mask, and dragged this photo into it and snapped it to that mask so that it was round, and I could have left it that way, but I decided to put a border on it, and when I did, I decided to snap a bunch of clear circles over it and put borders on those to give it this kind of tangled look, and then I fussy cut it unevenly and distressed the edges. So I kind of like that technique. It's in contrast to the starkness of the page. And that's my husband and my granddaughter, and they're facing some health issues, so irreplaceable was kind of a word that made me think of them. This was a favorite photograph from the trip we took Katie on to Europe for her 13th birthday. We were on our way to, I don't know where we were going at the time, the Grand Place probably. We took a subway metro to the central station, and I think this was walking through the central station. There were tiles with photographs on them, and she took a photograph of these two guys in the tiles taking a photograph of someone taking a photograph, and it just kind of it's a photo that I've always loved. And I'd just gotten my Bramble Fox box with the favorite photograph, and you can tell they're a British company because of how they spell favorite. So all my British buddies will be happy that I have that kind of title on my page. And I had some stars and this heart from previous Fox boxes, using those Mind the Scrap papers that you're going to see throughout. This one is it's a photo that I took of Barrett when we took him to Universal Studios when he was 4 in 2009, and I had a whole series of these little kid kind of stickers that I have in a drawer called kid-themed embellishments, and I had these scraps of paper that I had seen on someone else's layout, the technique of just kind of distressing them and curling them on the edges. So I decided to go all the way. I curled this green panel, and the green is there to kind of repeat the green here. The orange and yellow that you see in here repeat. Everything repeats colors that are in the photo. I love this alpha set that's from the Echo Park Imagine That collection. The Let's Be, so that I pulled from a different collection, this Let's Be came from the Mind the Scrap. So these were all the papers were Mind the Scrap, the embellishments pretty much were from my stash. This is one that doesn't use a Mind the Scrap kit. It's actually a Vicky Boutin collection that I have recently acquired, and it's a photo of Ava with an umbrella that was given to us because we helped with the conversion to the euro when we were on our assignment in Europe. And she loved it. She could open and close it herself, so she thought it was a wonderful thing to play with. And rain or shine, she was outside holding that umbrella up. She tried to in the house a couple times and knocked down some things and broke them, so that wasn't something we encouraged. This layout was a messy mixed media. I took a fence kind of stencil and sprayed probably 6 colors of 4 different kinds of ink, different greens and golds through it to make sort of a messy fence look. And then I took a leaf stencil and scraped some Viva Decor glitter paste. I forget what it's called, structure paste, and it's green gold, so there are little elements of shiny. I think you can see that as I move that around. And all of that was to mimic the greens in these trees that are at Autry Mill Nature Reserve that's just down the street from us. And I really love how this turned out, and Ava's going through some issues lately, so the good vibes only kind of applies to that. Another page, this one, well, actually, those are pretty much all Mind the Scrap papers back there, maybe 1 or 2 scraps pulled from my stash. This one, the background paper, the orange and the green background papers, were in an oddball place in my craft room, and I thought I'd like to use them. And the paper was meant to be used, the banner was meant to be used this way, but with these photos that I wanted to use, the flags would have hit them in the head. So I turned it upside down and decided to mount them on the curve there and add some washi tape up here for balance. Washi and sequins gets me in those other 2 product focuses. This was kind of about a hangout place, and what's cool about this hangout place, I don't know if you can see it in the on the bags here, but we walked in and they knew it was John's birthday last April 20th, and it was Katie's birthday last April 12th. So a year ago, they gave them treats with their names on the bag, and happy birthday, John, happy birthday, Katie. So it's kind of cool to go someplace. The Starbucks is a short walk from our home, and we're there. It's kind of a family place. Lots of times I'll get a call from my son saying, hey, going to take the kids to Starbucks, why don't you meet us over there? So we know most of the people behind the counter there, and they know us, and that's nice. This one was about how much my son James looks like the character Joey, played by Matt LeBlanc, on the show Friends. So I picked out some photos from different years. This one was from 1993. This one was 2017. This was 1997. This was 2018. It's an expression that I'm sure he won't be happy that I'm putting out there on the internet, but it's one that looks the most like Joey. He's actually been mistaken for Matt LeBlanc at times, and he's been told by nearly everyone he knows how much he looks like him. So that was kind of where that came from. This one was one about a trip to New York City that we took with Katie when she was 7, I guess, in 2009. And I've got a photo of her on the double-decker bus and John on the same double-decker bus, plastic a different way. A picture that she took of the Flatiron Building on that double-decker bus. And some washi tape and sequins to get me into that challenge. So I lied. These do qualify for some of the other challenges. This is a something about the cousins next door, people I grew up next to. I used lots of Mind the Scrap papers to make these hearts. I didn't have my sewing machine working at the time, so I used I glued on fake stitching. So those are some pictures of when my cousins came to visit us in Brussels, and we immediately ushered them onto a train and took them to Paris and then London before coming back to Brussels. Okay, this one is a story page. It features a photo of my husband and me before we were married. It was a portrait taken to announce our engagement, I think, all the way back in 1981. And it talks about a class, a management training class that I went to, and some joking that he and the rest of the team were doing while I was gone. This one is it's another layout done with my Mini Kit Monday kit, and it uses one of my favorite sheets of paper. This has Subway words on it, and I thought Breathe was good for my grandson Barrett, who is so busy and so active. He's an honors student and like a real star athlete in 2 sports and soon to be 3. So Breathe is kind of some good advice for him. This one features a stencil that I love and don't use very often, and a photo that my granddaughter Ava took when we were at the Margaritaville Beach Hotel in Pensacola Beach, Florida. And it's some of these Mind the Scrap papers, kit papers, and some stickers from, I guess, ephemera from the latest kit. Most of this is April kit, and then there's some Bramble Fox box stuff there, including my title. So that was another layout. This one uses a sketch done by Sandy Reversky that was a challenge in another group, and I used that sketch for this story, kind of about the table, and this is one example of the many groups and events that table hosted until someone got rid of it, unbeknownst to me. This was Katie's, I forget what birthday it was. Maybe I can figure that out. But what we did was everyone who came to the party got a photo taken with Katie, and then I printed the photos upstairs on my printer, or downstairs on my printer, and brought it back upstairs, and I put scrapbooking supplies out on a turntable, and everyone had access to the supplies, and parents helped out, and I helped out, and everyone there made a scrapbook page using the photo of them with Katie, and they left the original for Katie, and I scanned them and made a copy, and they went home with the copy. So it was a fun party. It was a lot more work than it sounds like it might be, but it was one of the many things that table had seen us through. This one was kind of a goofy one of a hat that Ava found in a Target store and made me put on, and then took a picture of me with it. And I love this craft paper, and it came, that's actually in the design. I didn't create that fold. It's like a crease in a paper sack. So I kind of went with that torn paper sack look there for that page. And I used lots of stickers from a sticker book that we got, I think, either in February or March. This one uses some, I'm calling them puff balls, but I think they're, I forget the name. Let's go with puff balls. We got these in the March kit, and I was inspired by another layout that had circles of some other material that were not raised puffy balls, and there were drawn ink lines. So I used thin washi tape to mimic those ink lines and used the puff balls. The title of it is The Queen of Bad Selfies, and kind of every vacation we take, every day we have to take a bad selfie. This bad selfie shows my craft room, and if I was in the craft room and all those things were on the table, I was happy, so it's not that bad a selfie after all. One of the papers that you may recognize, the Vicky Bouton paper, has these butterflies, and every butterfly that I cut seemed to lose a part of its wing, so I just kind of tucked that under. And I included a picture of a unicorn for some unknown reason. This was the first one I created, called On the Road Again. It's a theme song for our lives, and these photos were all taken at Margaritaville Beach Hotel in Pensacola, and I had just, when I made it, I had just completed the reservations for our July family vacation. So barring any unforeseen interruptions, we may be able to head down there, and then after that may head to Louisiana to see my sister. So I'm anxious to get back out there again. That's how I pictured our retirement. So let's do it. And we're in pursuit of magic, it says here, and nothing could be truer. Okay, that's it. Those are the layouts I created. I think there are 20 there for the Mind the Scrap CyberCrop this past weekend that had a really cool theme and really interesting and amazing prompts derived from that theme. So check it out. Check out Mind the Scrap. It's a great group, and there's some great activities, and there's lots of inspiration there. So love you all. Thanks for watching. Scrappy Kathy out.